Have you been scammed by what might be the biggest mortgage fraud since the financial crisis?
That was how Hunterbrook Media broke its first big investigation. The subject of its story was United Wholesale Mortgage, UWM, the largest mortgage broker in the United States. What Hunterbrook uncovered was an elaborate scheme, a fraud.
Hunterbrook published a story about United Wholesale Mortgage, alleging that these supposedly independent brokers funneled a lot of business towards United Wholesale Mortgage, improperly saddling customers with huge costs.
Frankly, this company was creating a monopoly with these brokers, and so that they would feel like they had to give their business to his company. And we've uncovered, documentation as well as bizarre voicemails sort of threatening brokers.
Hunterbrook basically said that UWM had captured a bunch of mortgage brokers who would always give them every mortgage, even when they weren't the cheapest or the best for the client. And that's kind of not cool.
What caught people's attention with the UWM story was not just the company's fraud-reliant business model. It was the unconventional, some might say ethically dubious, operating model of the Hunterbrook newsroom. That's because Hunterbrook is not your typical news outlet. It is a whole new breed, a double-headed institution consisting of Hunterbrook Capital, the financial arm, a hedge fund that trades in stocks and invests in multiple assets, and Hunterbrook Media, the investigative journalism arm.
Hunterbrook is incredibly different from every other news organization, basically because it's not aimed at the reader. The purpose is to provide trading ideas to the hedge fund. And the idea is that the news organization reports the news, and it's market-moving news, and then the hedge fund knows what the news is going to be and can position itself to make money when the market moves.
Hunterbrook Media is engaged in the kind of research that we often see from short sellers, but also from journalists, where they do deep dives into companies, into markets, into commodities, and they come up with investment theses. In the case of United Wholesale Mortgage, they published this story that was damning, and they took a short position in that company and took a long position in a rival called Rocket.
Our affiliate, Hunterbrook Capital, also bet against UWM stock.
Short selling, very simply, is a bet that the shares of a company will fall. So if you are making that kind of bet, you need to know information about that company, that once that information becomes public, that people will stop wanting to invest in that company in the same way.
And it's at that point that the company's stock prices fall. And the hedge fund, for example, an outfit like Hunterbrook Capital, makes money because it had placed a bet on those falling prices. There are obvious benefits to this kind of profit-motivated journalism. Few things encourage good work quite like money. So the investigations by Hunterbrook Media are thorough and well backed up. There's a big downside too. While there is a strong incentive to dig deep into companies whose stock could be shorted, there's no upside to poking into the affairs of companies that Hunterbrook Capital, the hedge fund, has money riding on. For instance, would Rocket Mortgage get the same journalistic treatment that United Wholesale Mortgage got? When we asked Hunterbrook Media's editorial advisor, William Cohan, this, he said those questions were beyond his purview.
Look, I'm an advisor on the journalism of Hunterbrook Media. I have nothing to do with Hunterbrook Capital. So I may not be your best guide to answering this question.
However, Hunterbrook Media did not agree to speak with us. The company does have a lot of information online though. On the relationship between the two sides of the organization, it says this: it is essential for our culture that these two aspects of our organization maintain independence. Importantly, Hunterbrook Media's reporting may drive Hunterbrook Capital's investments. Hunterbrook Capital's investments must never drive Hunterbrook Media's reporting. There's another important note in the company's list of principles. It's about what are called insider sources. Hunterbrook investigators cannot use them because if Hunterbrook Capital made any trades based on that information, it would be insider trading, and that is illegal.
So insider trading is basically when you trade on material non-public information, when there's some kind of an insider in the company who knows secret information, and they trade on that information. And that is illegal because it means that the market isn't fair, that people are trading on information that not everyone has. What Hunterbrook do is they are very careful to only use all of the vast amounts of public information that are out there in the world and aggregate that information and put a story together. You can use open source techniques just like war journalists can.
The writers, the journalists who work there are skilled in, data mining, scrubbing and analyzing the data and making conclusions based on the data. There's a whole language, there's a whole argot of Wall Street and finance that if you can't speak that language, you're going to find yourself overwhelmed very quickly.
This kind of detailed, often complex financial reporting isn't exclusive to Hunterbrook. There are entire companies that do just this, using and refining methods of financial investigation for themselves or their clients. They dig into everything, from consumer trends to corporate regulation. The research is gold dust in an industry where every bit of intelligence can be leveraged to make better investments. One firm that gained notoriety recently is Hindenburg Research, a short seller. It says it specializes in forensic financial research. The company caused a splash in January 2023.
So Adani was the richest man in India. He was very close to Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, and Hindenburg basically put together this massive report saying that the entire edifice was deeply corrupt and that the stock market valuation of the company was massively way too high.
This report is a bet against Asia's richest man by a firm which specializes in shorting stocks and therefore making its money.
People read the report, they sold the stock, and the valuation of the company dropped by $150 billion or something like that. And that was a huge scandal in India and financially very damaging to the Adani family.
There have been lots of accusations against this company. They've denied them thus far, but that hasn't stopped the market from selling.
The main difference between a place like Hindenburg and Hunterbrook is that Hunterbrook has also said that they will publish stories that are not related to their own investment theses. They have a lot of foreign bureaus, and so they've also published stories that they are not investing on. And so that would be one of the differences between a place like Hindenburg and Hunterbrook.
Hunterbrook has a wide range of deeply reported stories from undercover geographies and under-scrutinized industries. It is a journalist's dream. What it takes to bankroll that dream, however, is ethically murky and made complicated by the vested interests at play. That is the reality of a lot of media financing, though. Whether ad-funded, state-funded, or, as in this case, hedge fund-backed, journalistic outlets often have to make hard decisions.
There's a huge need to be creative about the way investigative reporting is subsidized now and underwritten because it is expensive and it takes a lot of time, and it often results in litigation from billionaires who will think nothing of threatening reporters. And so if it means that there's a wall between the journalists and the people who are trying to make money to subsidize and to underwrite that investigative reporting, as long as no laws are broken, I'm all for it.
There is no way that Hunterbrook is going to be the savior of media. They have a really interesting business model, and there is a chance that that business model will work. There is also a pretty high chance that that business model will fail. And so journalism is going to need to continue struggling with its existing struggles, that this is not some kind of panacea that is going to be able to bring a whole new revenue stream to the kind of stuff that you and I do.
Thanks for watching. Now hit that like button and leave us a comment to let us know what you think about anything that we covered this week. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Does anyone really call it X? Facebook and Instagram for updates from the show. Links are in the description.